Good morning, everybody. We are the Shepherd Station. It's just me and Andy here today. Well, it's not just me and Andy here today. We have a guest on the show with us. Thomas decided to set us up, and he's disappeared. Yeah, we don't know where he went. He's somewhere in the building.
He's hiding.
Yeah, he's hiding. But,
he's got actual work to do, I think.
He said, hey, this show's going to be, y'all's wheelhouse. But, hey, we'll go from there. Again, Andy's with me. I'm Eric. Today we have in our makeshift studio, if you will, Michael Etress. And Michael's got a long line of experience in now.
What we need to make sure to say is Michael Etress Jr., right?
Junior, that's right.
Yeah, the son, not the father.
Yeah.
Andy and I both worked with his dad. His dad actually took care of me on a couple occasions and got me out of some problems. So I have a lot of respect for his dad, and I have a lot of respect for Mike here.
Yeah. His dad was on the Rat Squad for a while,
Yeah,
right?
he was.
IA, as we lovingly refer to it.
The hammer.
Yeah.
Not everybody in IA is bad. We got to say that. But,
you must have IA. It's necessary.
But I did want to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I used to get letters down from upstairs. You've been cleared of this or complaint, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't even know I was complained on.
Yeah.
I got those quite a bit.
Right. It was good. It was good having that in the IA.
Yeah.
Because I would have a little bit of a heads up before it actually happened. I was like, no, I'm not coming up there to see you today.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But no, I have a great deal of respect for your dad. And I was fortunate to give a little backstory here. Mike worked for me when we were both with Henry County, and he did a real good job for us. But he also worked at Dothan PD.
Yes.
And I'm going to let you tell everybody about yourself a little bit, give your experience, start with, military too as well. Our show today is obvious. I can't talk today. Obviously, we always want to promote our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and follow his example and his lead. And we want to do that to where we can help other men and become leaders. We always say this. We want to create men or create a program where men can be men again. But today I want to talk about, Andy and I always talk about our time in law enforcement and what we see is going wrong today. But I want a fresh perspective because you're still in it.
Mm-hmm. He's a little younger.
A little bit younger than we are. But a fresh perspective or a current perspective on what you think is going on with law enforcement and even first responders, whatever the case may be. And but tell us a little bit about yourself first.
So I'm 36 years old, few kids, wife, a little bit younger, yeah. 3 kids, wonderful wife. Went straight into the military before I even graduated high school. I think I enlisted in 2006, I want to say. Spent 8 years in the Army. Come out of the Army, did a few little odds and end jobs, mostly dealing with firearms instructions, things of that nature. Did a little bit of contracting.
What was your MOS when you were in the Army?
19 Delta, Cav Scout. Just kind of infantry with better toys, I guess.
Right, yeah.
If you want to call it
walk everywhere you go, right?
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Decided the Army at the time, it just really wasn't a career that I wanted to continue pursuing. So I got out of that. Like I said, I did a few little odds and end jobs after that, did some contracting work. Started my law enforcement career as a corrections officer for Dale County Sheriff's Department, and I want to say 2015. Mm-hmm. Dale County had me in the academy within maybe 3 months of going there. Dothan PD actually hired me while I was in the academy. Spent 6 years there, left, went to Henry County Sheriff's Department, and I just recently took over as patrol commander and training coordinator for Headland Police Department.
I'm thinking I remember you calling me when you were a corrections. I was sheriff and you were a corrections officer in Dale County, and you were looking for a permanent real police job. We were trying to get out of corrections and all. And
sorry about that, all you corrections officers.
And I think, and corrections, I'll tell you what, I worked in the county jail, and corrections, man, I tell you what, it's probably the toughest
job I wouldn't want
in criminal justice. It was definitely not for me. You see people that do a 20, 30 year career in corrections, and God bless them, man, because we definitely have got to have corrections officers, because once you're street cops, make arrest, prosecute these cases, they're sentenced, and corrections officers are the ones that are keeping them secure, keeping our community safe from the worst of the worst criminals,
And I would
keeping them locked up.
say that you have to have a level of patience that is just it's a strong level of patience is the best way I can put it, because I mean, you put these people in jail, they tick, I say tick you off, but you did certain things on the street. Well,
Right.
okay, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
I can pass you off to
You're done.
somebody.
Yeah.
They have got to be patient with these people, because they've got to sit there and, I say babysit them,
Yeah.
but,
Well,
take
it's-
care of their needs and all that. And it's just probably, I couldn't do it.
Day
Well,
after
it's-
day.
it's
I
all-
commend you guys.
But it's also kind of a good place for law enforcement to actually start.
Oh, I think you should have to start in corrections, really.
Well, and, in a lot of counties, most all the
Yeah.
counties do that. Before
Yeah.
they'll put you on the road, they'll stick you in the jail and let you be a CO for a while, so
Yeah.
you can actually deal with and learn how to handle and talk to these people
I know
before you go
Jefferson
to the
County
road.
does that. I
Yeah,
know that
Jefferson,
they did.
Jefferson County does.
Most Dale County guys, I think, pretty
Yeah,
much
Dale
all
County,
of their
that's
guys go to the jail before they actually give them the opportunity
Right.
to go to the road.
It's good experience, and you learn who the regulars are. You learn who the criminals
that's
are.
true.
You learn how they operate, that kind of
Oh,
thing
come
too.
on.
So,
There's not regular criminals.
but yeah, I worked in the county jail for about 6 or 8 months during my early on during my career, and I have tremendous respect for people who work in the jails
there's
and
not a whole
correctional
lot of things
institutes.
that you haven't done in law
Yeah,
enforcement, is there?
I've been very fortunate to have a pretty diversified career and all, but
Yeah.
corrections officers are definitely to be commended.
Well, like I said, today we want to talk about some of the stuff that I complain a lot. As far as, I mean, you guys know that if you've listened to this show, we start talking about this because this is a field that I'm kind of still
Passionate about.
passionate about, even
Yeah.
though I'm not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Very passionate about it, but I just see so much changing. And up to now, I've seen, and I hate to say this because you always got the old timers. Well, back in my day, and I've turned into that guy. Well, back in my day,
You're that old crusty
I'm that
vet,
old crusty guy now. I mean, we both are, but I do see, I see such a different change or a shift in the culture of it.
It's a 180. It's
And that's, you and I had to talk about this on the phone one day, and I was like, well, you actually see this too. And if you're seeing this from while you're still in it as involved as you are, it kind of worries me a little bit. I don't see as many people going into the field. How many times have we talked about this? For that purpose-driven reason.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
in my heart, God called me to this. I've got to go do this. I want to serve the community. I want to do what's right. I want to right the wrongs. I want to be the guy. I want to be the white knight, right? I see it. I see more of the selfish me. Let me go into it for what I can get out of it. And I don't understand that because you're not really going to get a out of law enforcement. It's going to take a lot from you if you're doing it for the being if you're being proactive and doing the job well.
Yeah, if you're a true public servant.
Right, exactly.
well, you take a 20-year-old kid now and look at them that doesn't have much life experience per se, and they see this, oh, this department's hiring, they're going to send me to the academy. Oh, I'm going to start making $20 an hour because I can't do that in retail sales or anything like that anywhere. I get a car to take home, I get free insurance coverage, and I get to ride around with a badge and a gun on me all day.
You said that.
Yeah.
One of the worst things that has, well, I say one of a bad thing that I think happened is like you said, is departments started recruiting. They started, these different tables at these different events. Hey, come over here. Let me talk to you.
Used to nobody recruited.
Nobody recruited.
It was
Yeah.
unheard of. I
Yeah.
don't know about the West Coast or New York City or whoever, but I can remember when there was no recruiting because you didn't have to recruit.
No.
Because you had a lot of people that were trying to get into law enforcement. Had a lot of military veterans getting in law enforcement and that kind of thing. There was just no big push to recruit people.
Even your small departments didn't recruit. You had people that weren't. Now they might not sit there and hire as many certified guys. They might want to, or uncertified guys, because that costs money to send people to the academy. But they still had applications they were holding because people wanted to go in that job.
It was
And-
hard getting on.
I don't know about
yeah.
you, but when I when I tested for Dothan PD, we had to test on 2 different days because the Civic Center was full.
Slam full,
both
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a morning and an afternoon testing.
Yeah.
There were probably about 300 people there.
Oh, easy.
per
Yeah.
session.
Easy. And now, I think I went back to Dothan for a brief time. And while we were there, I remember being in the gym. They had a testing day. It was like 14 people showed up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at one time there, you might get 25 applicants, and then when you send them a notice to come for the PT test, which is the first phase,
Yeah.
and then you may have 15 show up for the PT test, and then you may have 13 to pass the PT test, and then when you get down to the background investigation, polygraph, and you narrowed it down to about 8 people, and just say you've got 4 openings. You cannot hire 4 quality law enforcement officers out of 8 cops. In my opinion,
Why is that?
if you're going to hire, you would just have to have the right ones. I mean, and that's just not likely to happen. And quality beats quantity every single time.
But we've said this before. Their departments now are just hiring to fill spots.
Yeah, and they shouldn't do that.
Well, but part of it's not their fault because you don't have that massive pool to pull from anymore.
Well, nobody's
but
beating the door down to do this anymore. And just
Exactly.
take, for instance, like when I went to the academy, I think we had, I want to say 98 people in my academy.
Where'd you go to the academy?
Northeast.
Okay, yeah.
Because
you
I went for
probably-
Dale County.
Yeah.
So this last academy that just went through in Tuscaloosa, I think they had 22.
No.
22
How many
people.
did you say was in the Dothan Academy?
Yeah, Dothan had 25
Yeah.
the other day when I spoke to that academy class. But but I don't know why law enforcement leaders want to put substandard people to work for them. Why do you want someone who is substandard to represent you as a chief or a sheriff? And the thing about it is, you're polluting the gene pool. When you hire substandard people, you're polluting the gene pool that you're going to have to pick your future leaders from.
So what you're telling me and what I'm seeing is there's a cycle of events that take place.
It is.
We're getting less people that want to get into the job, and when you do get that lower amount of number of people, you're not getting quality people. We're having positions that need to be filled. I'll tell you why. Part of the reason is because from my standpoint with the county, and you may understand, or you probably understand this better than me. We had a commission that if they could save $1, they're going to save $1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're going to pull from what they didn't see the need. Oh, we've got a deputy on duty. That was their mindset.
Right.
You have a deputy on duty for 600 square miles. I had to sit there and go with numbers to them and all this different research and data to say, okay, I need this many people on the road.
I think, what was it, my first year and a half, I worked Henry County at night, 6B to 6A by myself.
By yourself.
I had no help.
And fortunately, a lot of times what I saw was when you put numbers in front of people, especially when you put numbers in front of people in front of the media, they can't really argue with it.
Right.
And they don't want to look bad. So, okay, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we were able to boost our numbers and hire
But
more
then
deputies.
they try to come back on you sometimes because, and this is a politician's way of thinking, but going back to hiring quality over quantity, if they say, okay, we're going to approve you for 3 new deputy slots, okay, you fill those, maybe some cops leave or whatever, and you don't fill them.
Then they want to take
With the quality, they're going to say, well, we gave you these slots, why aren't you filling them?
Exactly.
Because we can't find quality personnel.
And that's where what I was about to say is looking from that standpoint. A lot of times you'll have administrators. Well, yeah, I want to get the best person I can get, but I've got to get this position filled.
Right.
Because if I don't get it filled within a certain amount of time, you have either a council or a commission, which we kind of had that.
But they're going off a numbers game,
Yeah,
too.
it's a numbers game because they don't see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily their fault. I'm not bashing councilmen or commissioners. It's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying if they see this, well, the bottom line is you've gone 6 months without filling that position. Apparently,
must
you
not
don't need it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well-
there's this push there's this push for administrators to, all right, I got to fill this spot. Even if it's with somebody that's not really up to the standard we want, we fill the spot, we don't lose the spot. But then you're just perpetuating the cycle because now it's like you said, you've taken somebody who is, I mean, come on, let's face it, not everybody needs to wear a badge and gun. Not everybody.
Law enforcement is not a job for everybody.
It's not, but you've got somebody in there that may have been recruited in or for whatever reason get in there and they're not cutting the mustard. And now, like you said, they're polluting the gene pool. And it's just that cyclical thing that keeps going on and on and on.
And the thing about it is, agencies will hire substandard officers, and then they will not deal with them if they're substandard. They will not fire them. They'll not get rid of them. They'll not discipline them. they'll let them stay and let them stay and let them stay, and they continue to be substandard. And one day when they make corporal or sergeant or lieutenant or captain or God help us, chief or sheriff,
People are wondering
then
why.
they're still substandard.
Yeah.
Okay. If somebody's substandard, they're going to remain that way.
Prime example, and I've told you this several times. There's some around here that I've worked with. You know, you have an officer that's worked as a deputy, police officer, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years. I'll be generous and give them 10 years. They worked at 8 different departments. And you want to hire them, and I've told the higher-ups, I'm like, look, there's a reason this officer has been a police officer for 8 years, and they've worked at 8 different departments.
Yeah.
You're not going to hire them here, and they turn over a new leaf and become God's gift to law enforcement. There's a reason that they've worked at this many departments.
There's a reason they're a nomad.
They're not just they're not gonna become better once you hire them.
Right.
Well,
That's the quantity over quality thing.
You guys tell me what you think. There's 2 reasons that I see that happening. Either A, look, I try not to cuss too much on this show, and if I don't want to offend anybody out of this, but they're either a shitbag, we'll say what it is, okay, or a police officer, or they've gotten into that free agent mindset. And with that free agent mindset, you know what? Hey, they're paying $1 more an hour over there. They've got openings. Let me go over there.
Yeah, but
there's no loyalty to the system.
Yeah, if there was no loyalty to the department they come from, then they're not going to be loyal to you either.
And you see them. I've got several in my mind. You know, I've worked at a few different departments, but for the most part, I like to stay where I was because I was getting to do the work that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the thing is that's what it needed to be about. Is I was loyal to the work because I wanted to do that kind of work because that's what I was called to do. These guys are loyal to themselves,
but
it's all about money.
But it's also a revolving problem, though, because that goes back to the quality over quantity and the amount of people that are actually wanting to do this job nowadays. Because you look right now, so if you're just a member of the Alabama law enforcement community on Facebook right now, there's 20 posts a day from different departments that are hiring. There's not an agency in this country that's not hiring. And that's the problem right now is one officer can mess up at this department, go get hired at another one, work there for 6 months, screw up, mess up there, go get hired at another one the next day. And they just don't care.
Because people are liability scared. Administrations are liability scared. You don't sit there and badmouths. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know 100%, but now when you leave a department, and for the people that aren't familiar with it, I mean, we've had Bobby Blankenship on here. He was with APOST, and APOST is the Alabama Peace Officer Standard Training Commission. That's what kind of governs everything that we do, right?
Yes.
Our certifications and how we do stuff in the state of Alabama. But if I'm not mistaken now, when an officer leaves a department, whether on his own, whether fired, whatever the case is, they have to submit to APOST documentation for the reason why.
It's just if you're fired. If
If
you're
you left on your own too.
if you leave on your own on good terms, say I put in my 2 weeks notice, I don't want to work for you anymore, you can go to another department. If you are actually not given the option to resign, if you are actually terminated from the department or fired, from my understanding, you actually have to submit to APOST, and I think also even have to go to the APOST and sit in front of the review board and tell them why you should be allowed to police.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of things have changed with APOST.
And I could be.
But I think a lot of guys, I mean, I've seen it multiple times. I've unfortunately even been part of it, and I think you probably have too. All right, look, you can't work here anymore. We're going to give you the opportunity to leave, or we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are most people going to do?
Leave.
They're going to leave.
They don't want to fire. They don't want a termination on their
But
record.
that's also, how many times has somebody called and said, hey, we've got this guy's application on our desk. Can you tell me about him? Well, you don't necessarily want to be that guy that ruins and I'm not saying it's right. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
So you're like, yeah, he worked here. That's really all I can say.
Yeah.
So you're not really stopping the problem.
Well, you should really, what you could say is, no, I would not hire him back. He is not eligible for rehire.
Absolutely.
Not eligible for rehire. We have said that.
Well, you don't have to go into details on stuff of why you wouldn't hire him again, but I would just sit there and simply say, I would not hire him at my department. You do what you want. It's your department. You run it how you see fit. But if it were up to me, I would not hire that individual.
I have told other administrators that would call me, hey, man, what you been up to? Blah, 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 a little small talk. He said, tell me about this guy. He's got an application over here. And I've actually been very honest. I'm like, hey, these are the problems you're going to run into. Mm-hmm. This is what's going to happen with this guy. Mm-hmm. And they end up hiring him anyway.
Yeah.
You know why? Got to fill a spot.
Yeah.
Right back to got to fill a spot.
Trying to put bodies on the road.
And later on, you could say, I told you so.
Exactly. I have.
Yeah, sad to say.
Told you so, you know.
But, when somebody screws up, then it ruins the whole profession. It tarnishes all of us because, the media most of the time is against law enforcement. And so the media is going to, anything bad that a cop does, the media is going to take it and run with it. And like I've said before, I learned a lot about the media whenever I was sheriff, and Fridays and Mondays are their slow news days. So if you get fired on a Thursday or a Friday, they're going to talk about you for about 4 days on the news because news is slow Friday through Monday. Yeah. So they're going to talk about you Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and maybe they'll go on to something else about Tuesday, depending on how bad it was something you do.
All you can hope for as an administrator is, man, I hope something big happens so we can get out of the news.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
I've always had a principle. One of my leadership principles has always been stand up for your people when they're right, stand beside them when they're wrong, and prosecute them when they're criminals. That's something I always try to adhere to.
Now that goes a long way for maintaining your personnel too. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know about today because, like I said, I see a lot of, quote, like I said, free agents out there that they're just chasing that dollar. And like I said, we go back to the recruiting table. These guys go by this recruiting table, and you got somebody from the department. Hey, come here, let me talk to you. They might not even been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I ain't never even thought about wearing a badge, being a cop, doing all that stuff. That's crazy talk. But, oh, wait a minute, you're going to give me, oh, yeah, we're going to give you this. We're going to give you this. Look at what you can do, you know. And I get it. Understand you got to do that sometimes.
Pay and benefits are good.
And they are. But, we're going to give you, $25 an hour, and we're going to give you a car to drive around, and we're going to take care of all your uniform needs.
You work out on duty.
Which is something else. Man, all this stuff's changing. You remember when that got implemented at Dothan PD? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 12-hour shifts. We started that. You know what? You can go work out. You even did that. We'd go work out on duty. What was the rule, though, when we did that? All right, you got 45 minutes to go to the gym.
We had an hour.
Yeah, started out at 45 minutes. Yeah. You're not going to, don't change out into any PT gear.
Yeah, you got to be able to throw a vest and
shirt
back on.
Throw your vest back on, your duty belt back on, and go respond to a call if necessary. But, we were afforded that. I watch these guys now, and they'll show up at the gym, big gym bag. They walk into the gym, go to the locker room, take everything off, turn the radios off, and they will spend an hour in the gym while on duty, full PT gear. I just think too much is being catered to that. And
that's fine and good if like we were talking about the 10-hour shifts earlier, if you've got 10-hour shifts where you got an overlap, and 2 hours of that time is meant to be for training or for special events and doing special enforcement activities. That's one thing.
I just think that it's gotten so, I don't know, just so all about the individual versus the individual being about public service. Mm-hmm. That's what I see, and I want to know what you think.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, it's this generation that is coming into law enforcement now is just a completely different breed of people. They're not the same as they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Certainly not the same as it was when you guys started getting into law enforcement. And I grew up in it with my dad being in it for 30 plus years, and some of the stories that he would tell me, and the criminals that they had to deal with back then, which, I guess we still have, in a sense, the same type of criminals today, but there was a whole different level of respect towards police officers 20 years ago.
That there was.
Yeah.
I will agree with that.
And these guys now that are coming into it that are 20, 21 years old, not saying don't go into it at an early age or whatever, but at the same time, also, you're 20 years old. What life experience do you really have? Mm-hmm. If you're not prior military or, some kind of something, because like you guys have already said, a lot of the individuals that were going into law enforcement 15, 20 plus years ago, they were prior military, had some kind of prior training. They rode around with auxiliary units for, a few years before they actually became a certified police officer. And these guys now, that again are coming into a really young age, they've done nothing. They've bagged some groceries at a grocery store and, sold some shoes or something somewhere. And I'm not knocking that, it's a job, but it's not beneficial to coming into law enforcement in the way that policing is done nowadays.
And then 5 years down the road, they're expecting to be,
Chief.
holding positions.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the thing is I've seen some 10-year guys.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I don't think somebody with 10 years experience should be running an agency.
Absolutely not.
I don't think I think you still at 10 years, you still don't have the experience to do that.
That's just barely. That's not even quite mid-career.
No,
really.
I know it. So yeah, you got like your guys, or like you're talking about these guys that are coming in, they don't have any life experience.
Yeah.
They get certified at 21 years old or whatever. They go work for a department for 4 years. Oh, well, I got experience now. I need to be promoted to this. I need to be in charge of this. I need this. You need to give me this. Instead of doing the job for what it's supposed to be done for. I've sat there and talked to guys before, especially doing some training with them. They might be riding, whatever. And we're riding around. All right, tell me what the Fourth Amendment means to you. Mm-hmm. And they can't do it.
Mm.
Well, at the same time, you also have to look at it this based off of individual departments too, because somebody that works 2 years at Dothan Police Department with an extremely high call volume is probably going to have more experience than someone
with 10 years.
5 years,
Yeah.
10 years working at a small sheriff's department.
True.
Because, the thing about it is like when I was at Dothan, it was back-to-back calls for 12 hours straight.
Right.
You did not get a break. You barely got to go take that workout time. You barely got to go eat unless you run through a drive-through somewhere. 4, 5, 6 reports a night, 5, 6 people in jail every single night, as opposed to literally when I was with Henry County, I remember times where I went weeks, and I literally mean weeks, with not a single dispatch call. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you were self-initiating,
self-initiate.
you were doing absolutely nothing.
It get killed. You're talking about not having a chance to eat or whatever, and people used to whine about not getting their meal break or whatever. And Danny McGriff was our captain. And
I saw Danny McGriff not too long ago, too.
yeah,
I did see him.
I see him every once in a while. But McGriff was hilarious. He was an old school cop, chewed red man every minute he was awake. And McGriff, he would say that's why God invented drive-throughs.
That's right.
I mean, if you don't get something to eat, it's your fault.
Well, I can say this: there's one that was not going to miss his meal time at this table, and it's not you or me. Okay, so I'll just tell you where he,
I used to carry a cooler around in my front seat
Hey,
for food.
I took mine most nights.
Yeah.
So.
that joker had me eating raw pasta one time. He'd keep a bag of raw pasta,
Like the hard
snack
shell.
on
hard shells. You snack on raw
Okay.
pasta. Probably wasn't good for you.
I guess it's food.
It is what it
If
is.
you're hungry enough, you'll eat it.
But no, there's we're talking about all the problems about it. So what are the solutions? I do like what Travis Yates said when he was with us, that the problem lies with us.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, we allowed it to get that way.
Yeah.
I'm part of the problem.
Well, we can,
was.
as current administrators, as past administrators, you can sit here and whine about things and about the way things are going now and about the new generation. But just like Bobby Blankenship said during his podcast, and if you haven't seen that podcast, I'd encourage you to go back and pick that up. Go back on YouTube and take a listen to it. Bobby has a program. It's actually about leading today's generation of cops. And Bobby says, they're just different. And cops today, back when we came into law enforcement, if a lieutenant or a sergeant said do something, they said run through that wall over there. You just ran through the wall. But now you tell somebody to run through a wall, they're going to say, why? How should I run through the wall? What speed should I run through the wall? What should I do after I run through the wall?
Yeah.
They're going to ask a lot of questions. And it's like I said on that podcast with Bobby too, some older cops get a little pissed off when these newbies ask questions.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they get pissed off because they don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
We've got to, as current leaders in law enforcement, we need to know what those answers are. And we can whine and moan about the newer generation, but if we're going to continue to provide a quality law enforcement service, then we've got to adapt to that new generation. Not saying that we can't, stick a little foot every once in a while in their butt every now and then and tune them up and say, listen, this is the way we do it. You need to comply. You need to get with the program. But we've also got to see how we need to change, because not only is our new cops different, but the public is also different too.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at Sir Robert Peel's 9 Principles of Policing from 1829. He was the first administrator of the London Metropolitan Police Department. And one of the things that Sir Robert Peel said, and if you're a cop out there, I would encourage you to go and look up the 9 Peelian Principles of Policing, because they are just as pertinent today as they were in 1829. But one of those principles are the police are the public and the public are the police. We're all one big group.
We are.
Cops are just the ones who have the badge, who have the gun, who have the authority, who have the equipment, that have the specialized training. But who are the real police? The community. The people out there are the real police. And if we don't have their cooperation, we can't do our jobs. I'm kind of getting off of something a little different there, but what I'm trying to say is not only are the new cops different, but the public is different also.
But, and I completely agree with you on that 100%. But on the flip side of that, one of the biggest issues that I have seen nowadays, especially with these officers that are coming in, is they are terrified to do their job. Not even just the new officers. Some of the older officers, they are terrified to do their job because this upper administration, and I told you, I absolutely hate this word, it is a toxic administration. They're not backing their guys. They're not training them, teaching them, and supporting them when they do their job.
I know you hate the word, but what other word can you use to describe it?
There is no other word for it.
I don't see another word that you can use to describe it.
Poor leadership, whatever you want to call it.
But that does go into what Travis was talking about. Is it starts at the top, and the leadership is
exactly.
Let's face it. When you and I were doing it, we became part of that problem. Maybe not to the degree that some others have, but overall, the overall leadership is kind of failing the guys that are out there right now. There's a massive problem in all of it. I see the problem with the younger generation of police officers, and I do agree with what Bobby says. I mean, okay, I'll take my son. Son, go over there and clean up your room. Well, what do you want me to do when I get in there? Or what do I need to clean up my room? Because I freaking said so. That's why. Go do it. Go figure it out. Can create a lot of problems solving solutions when you figure it out yourself. Now, on the other side of that, these guys that are doing that, well, all right, go over there and watch that car. Okay, well, how do you want me to watch that car? Why do you want me to watch that car? You know what? I get it. You need answers. And I think that we should give them those answers. I need you to go over there and watch that car because there's somebody in it and they might have a weapon, and I need you to be ready to react because we're going to be over here doing this and we don't need to worry about them. I need you to make sure that that's taken care of. Oh, okay, I'll be all right. On the other side of that, you and I came up in a time when go over there and watch that car. Roger that, moving. And we did it. I see both sides of it, and this new generation coming into it that I see is very, very all about themselves. Maybe we're not giving them the tools that we need to give them. Now, to your story about how cops are scared to do their job, well, that's a societal issue because society has turned against us.
Yeah.
And society has turned against us because of me. Well, not because. One of the reasons is because of media. Because
I was literally about to say it's because of this.
That's got a lot to do
with
with
social media, and
media has painted us out to be these evil monsters that constantly go out and we shoot everybody we see. We violate everybody's rights. We impose our will when we shouldn't, and we're tyrannical monsters. When that's really not the case at all.
It's a very, very small number that act like that.
Oh, it's minute.
It's a very small number.
Minute.
If you take a look at, I can't give you any specific numbers. If you take a look at the number of police contacts every year, calls for service, traffic stops, self-initiated calls for service, pedestrian contacts, you take all that and you count the number of times that a law enforcement officer actually has to use force. It is like less than 1% of all the contacts.
When you get into of all those types of contacts, the ones that are justified versus the ones that are unjustified, the justified use of force is overwhelming versus the non-justified. I mean, it's such a small amount. Erica had numbers that she pulled up one time. It was an event that took place, and the public was looking down bad, so she took it upon herself to look all this stuff up, and I mean, you start getting into the 0.0-something%.
Yeah, it's very small.
I mean, it's minute, especially when you look at the fact that there's between 900,000 and 1 million police officers in the state or in the country. I mean, that is, come on.
Well, we need leaders that have principles. As a leader, you should have a set of principles that you are not willing to violate no matter what. Not for a job, not for a salary, not for a position, not for a new car, not for job security, none of that. You should have a set of principles that you are not willing to violate.
Where does that start, though?
You got too many people, too many leaders, and like I say in a lot of my talks and stuff, is we need law enforcement leaders who are more concerned about the mission than they are about their position.
It starts with what's in power to you through the state, following the Constitution and doing the things that you're supposed to do.
That's what I'm saying. You're taking. We need leaders that have a. Say it again. How'd you put it?
We need leaders who are more concerned about the mission than they are about their position.
And that starts with the individual officer when they get in there. That starts from the very ground level of them being trained.
Yeah.
You need to be concerned about the mission that we have to complete more than you're concerned about yourself. Now, I'm not saying don't be concerned with bettering yourself throughout your career. That's not what I'm
mission
saying
comes
at all.
first.
The mission comes first.
Men come second.
You're doing this to serve the mission, serve the people, serve the community, serve the state, serve the country. And you have to have that mindset. So where in this loop, in this circle of all this going on, have we lost that? Because your leaders that are getting put in position were once down here.
Yeah. Well, I think where we have failed, and I think it's getting better in a lot of agencies now, and like I said, Travis talked about this before too, and where we're screwing up is we're not providing leadership training. Now, I'm not talking about management training. I'm not talking about training how to be a supervisor, how to write evaluations and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about real leadership training. And we're not doing that. We need to start that at the very lowest level, at the very newest officers that come to work. Everybody can be a leader.
Yeah.
It just depends on the moment. I mean, you may need to step up and be a true leader, and just because you got a star or a bar on your collar or stripes on your sleeve doesn't mean that you're a leader.
No, it has nothing to do with
It's got nothing to do with rank. Has nothing to do with leadership whatsoever. We need to be training officers. We need to be initiating them as leaders whenever they first come on the police force. We first get them. We need to be teaching leaders. You know the first real leadership class, the real, sure enough, leadership class I had as in my law enforcement career, after I was sheriff. After I was elected sheriff, I think I was in my second term, and I brought on Dr. Jeff Gwynn, who runs the Alabama Command and Staff College at the time. Charles Ward brought him to my office one day, introduced me. He was doing a lot of stuff up in Montgomery, doing a lot of stuff with Aaliyah, and I actually made my command staff go to some of his courses. And then whenever I went to Montgomery, I attended a couple of the courses up there. That was the first real formal leadership training that I had in my whole entire career.
How long have you been a police officer before?
Yeah, 25 years.
Exactly.
Before I had any real leadership training. Now, I had some 2-day supervisor's course and stuff like that, and most everything was on the job training.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine and good. If you're promoted to corporal, you're promoted to sergeant, you're promoted to lieutenant, okay, and you're going to learn that position from a corporal, sergeant, or lieutenant, that's fine and good. But what kind of leader are those people that you're learning from?
What are you learning from? Is what,
Yeah.
Right.
And if you've got a good example of leadership, that's one thing. And like we discussed before, you can learn from good examples of leadership, and sometimes you can learn more from bad examples of leadership.
Yes, you can. The key to that
is recognizing it, though. You got to have guys. If you don't recognize that this is bad leadership, and then you emulate someone who you're learning from, then you're going to think that's the normal way to do things. And it's not.
You should be able to recognize that really quick. If you pay attention to the guys that are under that quote supervisor, whatever the case, you got these guys that are running around, and I'm like, man, I can't stand being around that guy. Man, I wouldn't follow him anywhere. Listen to what they're telling you. You may need to fix this problem over here.
Yeah. Well, the military does it right. Okay. When you get promoted, you've got a PLDC and all those different leadership courses that you go at different levels that you're promoted to in the military. And that's what needs to be done in law enforcement. But we need to start that in the academy. Leadership needs to be talked about in the academy. And the academies have sections that they can fill in. Okay, they got a curriculum that they've got to teach, and then they've got some hours that they can fill in.
They've got filler hours.
Yeah. So we need to be teaching true virtues of leadership in our police academies.
I think if we kind of flipped it a little bit, the first thing that you think when you say, okay, we need to teach a leadership course, that's the first thing that people think is, okay, supervisors. That's what pops in your head, supervisor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we shouldn't be saying, okay, we need to teach leadership courses. We need to teach you how to be somebody that other people want to follow. Mm-hmm. That's, all right, that's what we need to be. Talking about some of the stuff that we've been talking about, fortunately, I've been able to speak at our church lately, at some men breakfasts. Been talking a lot about marriage under a Christian principles. Mm-hmm. And part of the thing that I talk about is, in Ephesians it says, and I'm going to tie this together in a second, mm-hmm. but in Ephesians it says, wives, submit to your husbands. Man, every time I sit there and bring that up, you got women, if women in there, they're like, they get all antsy, I'm not submitting to some man, So well, you're not being biblical if you don't.
Yeah.
But here's the other side. So if you read farther, a lot of men just stop right there and say, you're supposed to submit to me. Mm. That's what you're supposed to do. It says so right here in the Bible. I say, yeah, okay, well, hold on. Turn that and read just a little bit further. Because it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, mm-hmm. up to giving himself for it. Mm. Now, that tells me that if you want this person, your wife, to follow your lead, to submit to the authority that God gave you, to be somebody that's submissive to you, and submissive doesn't mean what we think it does.
No, it's not do this, do that.
No, not at all. But we also, if we want her to be that kind of wife, we have to be that kind of husband. And we have to be that representation of Jesus Christ in our family, which means we have to be somebody that is worthy of
following.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
We have to be that person that she wants to lead her. Now, you flip that and you put that in law enforcement. If we start teaching these guys, be that person that these guys want to follow.
Same principles apply.
The same principles apply.
Absolutely.
I think we're losing that. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how do we get it back? What do we do to fix these things we're talking about right now? You're still in it. That's why I wanted to get a fresh perspective from you.
Well, it's like Andy said, I think we're going to have to start going through leadership courses and classes and start teaching these people early in their careers how to be a leader. Mm-hmm. Because there's been many, many times where, people with authority, rank, whatever, have been over me that, I've only did what they told me to do because they had that authority over me. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I've zero respect for them, zero care to be around them, And then there's been people that were slick sleeves just next to me that I would follow into anything and anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I've been there. I know. First and foremost, I think we need to get God back into it. I'm just going to be
the first leader.
The very first leader, the one with a capital G, like you always say.
Right.
I think we need to bring that back in there. It is really, really easy when you get in law enforcement to kind of lose your compass. I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's kind of when I got into it. I was in a really bad, just a bad place, and I needed a direction.
So I think is one of the biggest things. We need to bring God back into what we're supposed to be doing. Let's face it. Even if you take a religious standpoint out of it, God's moral compass, moral code, the morality of following what I keep going to my phone when I want to reference the Bible. I need to have my Bible right here. But I read my Bible on the phone, okay? I got a Bible app. But if we look at that and just take the religious side out of it or the spiritual side of it, the principles that guide you are their next level. As law enforcement officers are supposed to be that next level. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to have the guiding morality, and that's what we judge things by, right? Mm-hmm. We judge it by. We first should be judging it by: is it morally correct, and then is it constitutionally correct, and then is it illegal or is it legal?
Yeah. And we as law enforcement officers, you are judged to a higher standard, whether you like it or not. That's something that you have to accept, that you are judged to a higher standard.
But you're so many different things nowadays. Mm-hmm. You're a marriage counselor, a relationship advisor, a hero, a savior, the most terrible person in the world. Yeah. Like it depends on what kind of call you go on. Because you're going on the call. This person's supposed worst day they've ever been through, and you're supposed to show up and have the answers.
Yeah.
What was it you used
You
to
know,
say?
we only deal with two kinds of people on
you
our
go.
job. Bad people and good people who are having a bad day.
Right. Bad
When
day.
you go to that, and we've had so much pushback over the last since 2020. About cops being taught warrior skills or being taught a warrior mindset, and we do need to be warriors. I mean, most of these people that are perpetrating this mindset have never been in a schoolyard fight at recess, much less a fight over their gun in a dark alley or on a long, lonesome country highway with no backup in sight. But, we've got to be a warrior, but we also have to be a guardian, a peacemaker, and a public servant. And you have to be able to transition between all of those roles multiple times during your shift or your tour of duty because you're serving different types of people. You got different types of calls. You got different types of situations. You got different types of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to transition between all of those roles.
And you have to maintain your moral code and all of that. Mm-hmm. 1 minute, the concept you're talking about, you say nowadays you got to be this. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
From the time that I started, from the time that you started, you had to be a doctor, you had to be a nurse, you had to be a counselor, you had to be a pastor, you had to be a family practitioner, you had to be a warrior at times, you had to be a tactician, you had to be everything under the sun. You had to know when to turn each one and everyone on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem is we all got kind of, okay, well, I don't have to. That's not my.
That's not my job.
That's not my job.
Don't ever say
it is
that.
your job.
Don't ever say that.
It is your job.
You know who people call when they don't know who else to call?
They call police.
They call the cops.
Exactly.
Because they don't know who else to call.
Because you are supposed to be the one with the answers.
And the thing about it is, I've never, ever want to hear any of my people say, that's not my job. It may not be our specific job, but it is our job to find out whose job it is that we can put these people into contact with to help them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a cop being everything. I laugh sometimes because Captain Gonzalez, one time when he was working for me as a captain at the sheriff's office.
Call him what? Come on, call him Gonzo.
Gonzo handled a lot of the scams. He put out a lot of stuff publicly about scams and all. Man, we had this older gentleman. Him and his wife come in one day, and he had sent these people some money. Totally got scammed, out of a couple $1,000 or so.
Yeah.
Gonzo got everything took care of. I don't think they got the money back, but got this man back on track. Got his wife settled down. It wasn't a couple weeks later they were back in there. He got scammed again for $5,000 or something like this. And I like to joke, Gonzo divorced them and remarried them in his office during this conversation about the scam, trying to help these people. But, you do have to be all things to all people.
You got to be all things to all people. And you've got to do it with a humility, I guess. Like I said, take yourself out of it. That's what I see. Part of the problem is there's no more of that humble servant mindset. And I know that's an extreme thing. I'm sure there is. I see something different.
Everybody sees what's on TV with cops, but about 90% of our jobs are dull, boring, mundane, just typical simple tasks, and about 10% sheer excitement and fear. And it's like I tell people too. The Bible ordains law enforcement officers as a profession. Romans 13:4 says, "For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is a minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil." Now, what's the first part of that verse? For he is the minister of God to thee for good. Yep. And that's what we do most of all. We try to help people. Most of our job is not about fighting, shooting, pitting cars, all that kind of stuff. We wish it was.
You need to know. You need to be highly trained in all of that. And you need to know how to do that. You need to be that warrior. And you need to have that warrior mindset because at any point you're going to go up against evil. But here's the other side of that. If you can get past this evil as this monster thing that you face on a physical level, you may go up against evil in a completely different way. It may be somebody that you just need to simply talk to. Yeah.
It reminds me of that old quote, remember? Be nice, be polite, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet.
That's right. Be nice, be polite, but have a plan to kill everybody in the room if you have to.
Yeah, well, and to go kind of further into this generation that's coming in now, and something that I would think that, aside from the leadership courses and things like that need to be implemented into departments and teaching these guys, is we need to start taking care of us. And by that, I mean our mental health.
Right.
I see a lot of officers that are currently in, a lot that are getting out. They're having a lot of issues dealing with some of these calls and some of the things that we see and do on a daily basis, and they're struggling. And, you know, to my knowledge, a lot of departments, they don't do anything for your mental health.
Well, I look back upon my career as a supervisor and as a sheriff, and many times I have reflected and said, you know, I could have done a lot better job helping some of the cops that work for me than I actually did. But you know, I was still part of that old school thought too, man.
Just
come on,
keep going.
suck it up. If he's that crazy, you know, then we need to get rid of him. Whatever the case may be, you know.
We're losing it a little bit.
So we're going to be cutting a little bit into time, a little bit more. Keep going. Sorry, folks, we had a equipment malfunction. Just about that much more. Yeah. There you go, right there. Yeah. So, just to touch on that, because that's actually something we can talk about in another show, because recently going through some of the stuff that I went through, you're right. The old school mentality was, and to your point, I agree, we need to be doing better for the mental health aspect of things. Did it fall again?
Yeah, we're losing our camera again.
Okay. Is there a way to tighten that up? No, we lost the camera altogether. Thomas, we got to... I don't know if it's that or if it's that arm.
Yeah, it's that first arm joint right there. That's just...
That's good. I mean,
it's good. It's falling again.
Yep, slowly. Is there something we can prop that with?
Let's roll.
So anyway, the mental health aspect of things is something that I think we can talk about it, you know, later on. But you're right. With me sitting there going through some of the things and same mindset, man, you just keep packing it down, just keep going because that's what we do. But, you know, once that all stops, you deal with things that you dealt with. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to my counselor. I go to counseling now on a regular basis, and it helps a lot. That's really bothering me. I'll get it in a second. We've all done it. I think instead of trying to react to, okay, well, this officer needs help. He just got involved in this, or this, you know, she needs help. She just got involved in this. Why don't we start looking at how we can get ahead of those problems sooner? One of the things that I talked to my counselor was, I'm like, you know, I went 30 years and this stuff didn't bother me. And now all of a sudden, this sudden stop, you know, the things that did happen, why is it catching up to me now? And she said, okay, take a look at it this way. You're driving across a lake in a speedboat. And while you're driving on that lake, you're operating that boat, everything's fine. You keep doing what you need to do, and everything's going good. And all of a sudden, you stop the boat. All right? Boat comes to rest, but what keeps coming behind you? The wake keeps coming behind you. When that wake hits you, you got to deal with it. She said you had that sudden stop, and now all this stuff's coming. Your hard drive's getting dumped. Your garbage can's getting it ran over. You got to deal with that stuff. So when you look at it from that standpoint, that's a lot to process all at one time. You know, if we got better at trying to get ahead of this problem with officers as they go through their career, such as, you know what, let's look at this mandatory every 6 months. You're going to go sit down with somebody, and you're going to get everything out. You may not get everything out. You may not want to do it, whatever. But it's something that at least we're trying to get ahead of it so that when these officers get out, when these deputies get out, when these law enforcement professionals get out after 25, 30 years, they don't have to deal with all that at the same time. Right. They can process it as they go throughout their career. And I think that that's a more healthy way to do things instead of sitting there and just going, okay, well, you know what, we offer that, and if you want it, you can take it. Because you do. You have a lot of guys, a lot of women, man, when it finally hits, and I say, you know, I don't know what you go through when you're by yourself. I'm sure things come up and you handle them. I'm going to tell you, when all this stuff comes rushing back, it does. It sucks. And you look back on a lot of things that you may regret, the death that you see, because how much death have you seen? You've seen a lot of death. And I've seen a lot of death. The situations you were in that just it's hard to deal with. We've got to get better at helping them get through it as their career goes.
You know, one idea I've had, and I think maybe this should be something that's implemented in departments nationwide, is have mentors
Yeah.
for your law enforcement officers. And I know every sergeant, every lieutenant doesn't have time to mentor everybody on their shift.
Right.
Okay. Right. But why don't you bring, even at the beginning of their career, why don't you bring in, and I'm not saying everybody's right for this job, but bring in some retired cops to sit down with these new cops. Okay, after they come out of the academy, maybe after they go through their FTO program, before they're going to go solo, somewhere in that time frame, and sit down with them and just an hour or two and say, what do you want to do in your career? What does this career mean to you? What does law enforcement mean to you? Do you want to stay in this career, till you retire at 25, 30 years? Mm-hmm. What's your career path? Let's take a look and see what do you want to do in your career path? Do you want to eventually one day be a canine officer? You want to work narcotics? You want to work on this task force? You want to investigate homicides? Do you want to be chief one day? And sit down as a mentor with these young cops and help them try to plan out their career and talk to them about the things that they're going to face in their career. We need to, when you're recruiting cops, let's don't tell them about all the great stuff. Let's just don't tell them about all the good stuff and the good pay and the benefits and all that and the excitement. Let's talk to them about the bad side too.
Yeah.
Let's talk to them about what they may suffer. And every department needs a wellness program. And we've talked about when Alan and Amy were on here and they're the things that Alan got into, I mean, it's just horrific.
Yeah.
Really horrific. But him and her are going around, they're telling that story, man, and they're getting requests like every day to speak.
They're a massive success story.
Yeah.
But when you
That's
look
few
at
and far
them,
between.
that's few and far between because it is, and I like the way you put that. It's a wellness program. That's what needs to be implemented. A wellness program, not a reactionary program.
Right. Yeah.
And as good as Elips is, I know it was a step in the right direction. I personally, and this is just a personal opinion, I still see it as being reactionary.
Yeah.
As to where we got to get ahead of things. And I think with implementing some of those wellness programs, even the mentor program you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, in the military, they're going to, you have career paths that you can start, looking at. Why don't we do that in law enforcement?
Right.
Why don't we have that where you say, what do you want to do? And let's map out your career. And let's also throw in a process to get you through that career. Because here's the deal. You're going to come in here and you're not going to go arrest drug dealers every day. And you're not going to come in here and save kittens out of trees every day. You're going to come to work sometimes. You're going to see really bad stuff. Guess what? You may even be put in a position to where you got to kill somebody. And you need to know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, suicide rates are going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
Alcoholism is going to continue to go up. Divorce is going to continue to go up. And when you have people that are 10, 15, 20-year police officers that are dealing with that and they're still in a job, you have a recipe for disaster. Now, we're getting on a different tangent there, but, there's all this stuff. We are running a little bit on time, and I know that you just got a call from dispatch, so I don't want you getting in trouble.
They
I
hadn't
appreciate
called me
you
back,
coming.
so it must not be too
So-
important.
Getting those different perspectives, I honestly think my final thoughts on this is we got to bring, not that morality's left it, but we've got to start. What's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging,
Incentivizing a reason for these officers to be here.
yeah. We've got to start encouraging that purpose-driven mindset again. And now, you and me not being in it, you are in it. You can do that. The biggest thing that I can see to do that is, you know what? If you don't have a spiritual walk with God, if you don't have that higher purpose that you serve, it's going to be hard for you to find that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that you should. I think everybody should come to meet Jesus Christ because He is the ultimate purpose for us being here. He's it. He's the only way to the Father. But there needs to be that higher purpose that a law enforcement officer serves, because in having that higher purpose, they're going to have that servant's heart to serve the public.
Yeah. And having a higher calling, there are things that you're going to have to endure.
Yeah.
It's just like it says, to whom much is given, much is expected. I think I'm paraphrasing that, but it's a tough career. But we need to make sure that these people that are entering the field of law enforcement know that it is a tough career.
It is a tough career, but it can be. It is worth it.
Oh, it's very rewarding.
It's very, very rewarding.
I've been retired 9.5 years now, and I miss it every single day still.
I haven't been. Well, I'm going to retire the first time, but went back into it. But I've missed it, and I miss aspects of it, and I always will. Bottom line, I always will. It is very rewarding. It is very tough. We're not discouraging people from going into law enforcement. We're trying to get current law enforcement, and we're trying to get those that would want a career in law enforcement to understand what it's all about and to get that heart back to serve people. Because at the end of the day, and I've said this many times on the speakings that I've been doing lately, life ain't about you. It's not about you at all. It's about what you do for other people and your service to God. And if we can get that back, I think you'll see a turnaround.
Exactly.
I think so.
You got anything else, sir?
I'm done
How about you?
for
man?
today anyway.
No, I very much appreciate you guys having me on. Anybody that's out there watching, listening, God bless you. Thank you for having us.
Yep. Hope you guys enjoy the show. We got a lot more guests coming on. Andy's got his contacts that he's going to be bringing some people on. Hey, I've got my uncle. I wanted to tell you this. I'm going to go ahead and put this out. My uncle's a retired lieutenant colonel, special forces. He said that he wants to come on. He's a pastor now,
Really?
a counselor. He's got a great story.
Let's get him on.
So I'm going to have that up
Get him
coming
scheduled.
soon. So you guys keep listening. Remember, we love you. God bless you.